Hi Scouts, it's Mr. Kukler, and I'm going to show you how to make a reflector oven. And not just any reflector oven, but a reflector oven made from a pizza box. And here's the original one that I made probably around 9 years ago. And this used coat hangers, which work fine, and some hardware wire, which is this material here, galvanized hardware wire. But what we're going to do is, and this one here also used hardware wire, but we're going to graduate up and use one that uses a cooling rack. This is a 10 by 11 cooling rack that I got on Amazon. Got a 4-pack for about $17, $18. This is, you're probably more used to seeing it this way with a yard sign. The corrugated yard sign slides over. This is the stand for it. This is going to be used to support and create that support for the reflector oven. We're going to use a small pizza box. This pizza box here, these are a little bit smaller. This one ends up being about a 12-inch square. So in some places may actually be a medium pizza box. We're going to use painter's tape. This is about 1.5 inches wide painter's tape. It's like a masking tape. We're going to use aluminum foil. Now the wider, you'll have less seams. This one here is about 18 inches wide, and then this is more standard 12-inch wide aluminum foil. And we're going to be using probably primarily electricians or linemen's pliers. These are also needle nose that I have at the ready, just in case we need it, because we're going to be doing some bends. We're going to possibly have to puncture. In one design, I punctured the cardboard. I have this awl. If you don't have it all, you can use a nail to be able to do that. And you saw me already pull out a tape measure, and you certainly can use a stick measure or a different type of measuring tool. So let's get started. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by lining this box here with the aluminum foil. And I'm going to use, since most of you will have the 12-inch foil at home, I'm going to use the 12-inch foil. Let me move these out of the way so we have enough room to work. So one of the tricks that I found a number of years ago when I first made this is it's a little easier to take and open up the pizza box and flatten it out and wrap it with foil this way. Our goal is going to be to wrap it with foil. We may tape it in places in the inside, primarily on the outside, but we may tape it in places on the inside, but the goal will be to have all that tape hidden by other layers. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to start with a piece this big, going up this side. And here's a little trick to try to keep the foil situated on the inside of the box. Take and roll up some pieces of tape on themselves and make a loop and apply that to the inside right on the side here where this is eventually going to roll or bend at a 90 degree. So I'm going to do this along the edges. I've got 3 on that edge, and I'll do the same on the top. Now, when you're doing this, you can take your time. For the purposes of doing this training, I'm going to try to work as fast as I can, because you'll get the point as I'm doing this. And I'm going to take and put another row going up the middle here, because I know that this foil is only going to get me about halfway through the box. I'm going to have a lap. That's having a little trouble sticking there because there was actually some foil, because this is truly a pizza box that we're recycling. All right. We're going to try to ultimately have 2 layers of foil on the inside of this box, just so it stands the test of time. So this is coming to right about the middle. Now our friends at Reynolds Wrap say that the shiny side or smooth side really doesn't make a difference when you're doing stuff like this. I think I ended up with the shiny side up. So now I'm going to do the same thing I just did on the other side, putting rolls of tape, remember 3 on each face. So what I think I'm going to do today is we'll do both layers of foil, and then we'll fold it over and bend this foil over around the frame. I'm trying to get it about the same length as the other one. We'll start in the middle, lay the cardboard flat. Great. As I said, I'm going to try to do 2 layers on this just so it stands up a little bit better. I suppose you could just do 1 layer, it'll work fine. But I want this to hold up a little bit because I want to use it more than once. The great thing about this is the parts that we're using are reusable. The grate, the cooling rack, the frame that we're using from the yard sign, they can all be reused again. So if your cardboard box and the foil is a little worse for the wear after using it several times, you could start over again with another pizza box. Be a good excuse to go out and get a pizza. So here I am putting 3 on each face, on each edge. Remember, I got a top and a bottom to the box. And remember, when I get done with this, this painter's tape will not be visible. It will be hidden. All right, that's great. And we'll just do the other side now. Starting with pieces of tape in our center. And then we'll go do the side closest to me. So when I first came up with this, I was getting ready for some Cub Scout leader training. We were going to be teaching outdoor cooking. And I kept thinking about what kind of a reflector oven could I come up with that a Cub Scout leader could make easily enough and that wouldn't cost a lot of money. And as I prepared the night before the class, I kept carrying things in and out of my house to my trailer, and I kept walking by a pizza box sitting on top of the recycling container by our garage door. And eventually it hit me that it was right there in front of me, that this pizza box held at the right angle would make a perfect reflector oven. It could be a project that some scouts could do during a meeting to be able to get ready for a camp out. The important thing to remember with using a reflector oven, the reflector oven sits in front of the fire, not in the fire. So that's how we're able to use something made out of cardboard to be able to cook and bake next to a fire. So now I've got my 2 layers of foil that are held in place with that painter's tape. Now I'm going to roll this over. Now, important thing to remember as I bend this over, I'm going to be taking and bending some of this. So I want to be careful. I don't want to have it totally tight, because if I have it too tight, I may have a problem when I go to bend certain parts, because I'll be bending it in a different direction. And I'm going to take and just hold this over here. When we get done bending it over, we can take and add some additional tape. All right, and let's see here. I think let's take and bend this over. This is not an exact science, so you're going to want to do what works right for you. I'm going to live on the edge and assume that I got that correct. This gets a little tricky over here. This is the end that's going to fold in on itself. So this is the one where I want to be especially a little bit forgiving. And I also have to remember that I have different parts here that are going to want to do different things as I fold this over. So I may see here, I've got this whole mechanism is where it gets a little tricky. What I'm going to want to do is take and fold those pieces of cardboard in. I know you're saying, well, why didn't you just assemble the box and make this up? Trust me, after making a number of boxes lined with foil for baking chickens and all, I can assure you, trying to get in that inside corner is not a lot of fun. So here I've gone and I've gotten that box assembled. And now what I'm going to do is find the easiest way to fold this over. It's almost like wrapping a Christmas present here. Hopefully you're not wrapping presents for your loved ones with aluminum foil, but I guess there's worse things to wrap it with. So, lost a little bit here. There you go. I'll just try to get enough foil so it's up over the top here so I could tape it in place. And what I may have to do here, got a little funky on me, so I'm just going to put 2 rows of tape on it. Now we've got this part. This is what technically would be the lid. Got that folded over. We've got the center here, which is where the box folds. And we're just going to carefully work to rip a little bit on the inside, but that's fine. It's going to be hidden where it is. And now we've got a nice lined box. Now, if I was really worried about things, and what I could do now is just take and lay it somewhat flat again, and I'm just going to take and tape this edge with some painter's tape, just so it stays in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a piece of foil and I'm going to cover the top. Now, you may ask, well, why are you worried about that? I'm facing away from the fire. So what I want is, if I'm cooking on a weekend where maybe it's raining, this will give me a little added layer of protection if there's a slight rain or if it's damp outside, and keeping my box nice and dry. All right, great. So we've done our foil wrap, and you may get a little tearing, like I said, in the middle there. But the important thing is just to try to wrap your foil in such a way that none of the exposed cardboard is showing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our stand. And if you remember on this one here, we've got 2 horizontals. This is the way this one fits. Now remember, this box is a little smaller than this box. Earlier I took and did a measurement to figure out where the bend would be, and it happens to be at 7 inches. So what I'm going to do is come down 7 inches. Hoping I did that right. It happens to be about the same height. That's about 8 inches. Actually, it was 7 inches from the other part, which is 14, so it's 1/2 dozen of the other. So for purposes, I'm just going to take and put some tape around that. If you had a Sharpie, you can mark it with a Sharpie. I'm just going to take some painter's tape and just put it at the 7-inch mark. And now what I'm going to do is take, and I don't want to bend this at a 90 degree. So I'm going to hold my lineman's pliers here, and I'm just going to keep working it get it to be about a 90-degree bend here. Square. All right. Now what you could do is, you notice on this one, I took and I bent these around. We could do that if we want to. I'm going to leave these like this for now. Now, one of the challenges that I noted with this rack is that it is a little bit, I want to be able to go this way because I need the depth, and it's a little too narrow, but with a little effort, I can get it down, and it's going to bulge that other part out, and then I'm going to bend this back a little bit to be able to hold it in place, because I need the depth of this rack going into here. All right, so now what I need to do, take and simply slide this between here. Let this come down like this. Let it sit in the back, and then simply have the box sit right there. I'm going to poke a little bit through just so I could take and give just a quick bend over. I'm only grabbing as little as I can. And there we go. So now we have a very simple reflector oven made from a pizza box, something that you could do at home, especially if you have a campfire pit or a place that you could have a campfire in the backyard. You can even be baking in the backyard. So pizza box, pizza oven, something that's simple to do. The worst that you could do is try over again if you have trouble doing the foil the first time, and I hope you enjoy it.